everybody. Dr. Kevin Green here from Innate Wellness Center in Beverly, Massachusetts. And this month, June, is our focus is on golf and, how to get the most out of your game. I know a lot of us have had a long layoff because of the pandemic. So it's really important for us as we go back to playing golf that we're paying attention to our body, that we're doing the things to strengthen our body, to increase our flexibility. And so as a lead up to all the stuff that's going to come out this month, we did have a conversation, or I had a conversation today with golf professional Phil Cornetta. He's a local guy. He teaches around here. He's from Gloucester. And we went over some really great stuff, some stuff to do for prepping, some strength, some flexibility information. So I thought it'd be a great way to kind of lead off and jump us into some of the stuff that we're going to be going over, like strength, flexibility, things that can help you feeling better and also playing better. The more flexible, the stronger you are, the longer and straighter you're going to hit the ball, and that's really the key for all of us. So please stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the show.
So let me ask you this. So it looks like the driving ranges are open?
Yeah, so some of the driving ranges have opened in Massachusetts. Some of them are kind of going a little rogue and kind of opening early. But from the letter, from the state, it sounds like driving ranges and standalone practice centers can reopen on the start of phase 2. We actually heard some good news yesterday that the governor's going to make a press conference on Saturday and outline when phase 2 will start. And we're all very hopeful that the 3-week deadline between phases would actually be on June 8th. So we're really hoping that starting June 8th, we'll open at 7:30 a.m. and we'll be fully open for the rest of the season. So I'm pretty excited about that, but patiently holding my breath to some degree, hoping that he doesn't say, we're delaying a week or we're doing this. It really just, depends on the spike of COVID cases. And so hopefully there's nothing, too dramatic happening, and we can just start to get back to the new normal as it's known. So
yeah, I actually drove by. I drove by the driving range in Middleton there by Richardson's Ice Cream.
Yep. Oh yeah.
They were fully open. So they had, not only were all the stalls full, but there were people waiting behind people to hit balls. So
well,
obviously,
I think the golfers are ready to start hitting golf balls when you can only go straight to the tee, and then you don't get a chance to really, warm up or practice. And one of the things I really like to do after I play golf is just hit a few balls for maybe like 15, 20 minutes, try to work on some of the shots that I maybe missed during the round. So I miss that kind of pre-warm up and that post-warm up. Post cool down more, with the golf swing. And, it's amazing how much you can really kind of work out on the range instead of, just being able to play every time that you want to, get your golf clubs in your hand. It's nice to be able to practice, hone in on some technique, work on some mechanics, and it just makes it so much more beneficial once you get out there and actually start playing. So, but this is what golf is like. So whenever I used to work at private clubs, members would ask you to play. It's not like you can be like, all right, let me go down to the range for a half hour, warm up, hit some chips. It's like, we're on the tee. You ready to go? So this is pretty normal for me. And so I'm pretty used to just heading down to the tee and teeing it up and figuring it out as you're out there. So, but it's kind of fun. Every day is kind of a new day when you're playing golf like that. So you try to get a flow for that day and just keep it going.
Right. So, it's interesting. So we've, been working together for a little while, and I don't know if I ever asked you about your golfing background, kind of
sure,
where you came from, what brought you to where you are now, and kind of what you have going on now as far as teaching, under these circumstances, and then once all this is over.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. So I grew up on a golf course, so I was kind of lucky enough to actually grow up on Bass Rocks Golf Club down in Gloucester, where I'm still a member today. And my family's home was right behind the 5th green and the 6th tee box. So I literally had the golf course as my backyard for most of my, my young life. So it was great. I became a junior member at Bass Rocks when I was a young kid, took lessons right away, from basically, age probably like 5 to 12. And then, so I really got a chance to hone in on my fundamentals. And actually, as a really cool sidebar story, so the golf professional that worked at Bass Rocks that taught me lessons as a kid, I actually now work with him on his golf game which is really kind of unique. So I'm not sure too many teachers can say that, but
Right.
it was really fun. Jeff Davis was an excellent, guy and a great golf professional at Bass Rocks. He taught me golf as a kid, and he made it fun. We'd go out on the course. It was just a lot of fun working with him, and he had just a great temperament and was a great teacher. And so I got to kind of learn the fundamentals from him, develop my skills. And then I played all through high school and college, and so it was great. And then about a couple of years ago, he wasn't able to play golf anymore because he was having back problems, and then got back surgery, and then started to, after the back surgery, started to feel a lot better and wanted to start swinging again. And then he was having some trouble kind of finding his way back, and so he called me up, and we were able to do a bunch of lessons and kind of get his golf swing back to where it should be, and really get him fine-tuned again. So it was like this complete circle. It was really kind of a fun story, and just a nice thing for me as a teacher to be able to be like, now I get a chance to give back to this guy who really was able to help me as a kid. And so that was really, really fun. And I still work with him today, and he belongs to Rockport Golf Club, which is on the other side of the island from where I live in Gloucester. And so it's great to be able to kind of go full circle like that. Was a lot of fun. And like I said, so as far as my playing background and teaching background, so I played golf basically from, when I was a little kid all the way until college. And then I went to the Golf Academy of America, which is basically, it's a program that's designed to be, more golf specific. It gets you into the industry. It's down in Orlando, Florida. And so I got my degree in golf complex management with a dual emphasis on teaching and club fitting. So that was kind of my blueprint, my background as far as, getting a better understanding of the golf swing, the technology and the industry. And so that was a great, great opportunity that I had. And I really enjoyed it, and tried to, do everything that I could while I was down there to really just educate myself as best as possible, play a ton of golf. I played on some of the mini tours down there. So they have the Florida Golf Tour, the Moonlight Tour. So I played all through Orlando and played in all sorts of professional events, and tried to really make a run at playing some professional golf. And then I kind of ended up, after a while, I started to teach golf, and had an opportunity at the Golf Academy to work with basically first semester students coming in. And so you couldn't have started with a better opportunity. I basically got to start off by working with high level athletes that are great, have great athleticism. And so, to me, it just totally changed my perspective on what I wanted to do in the golf industry, because my heart was kind of set on playing at first. And then, as I started to teach more, I really started to enjoy it. And so it was great. I had the opportunity to play in some events, but also work as a teacher. And so that was kind of like the start of everything. And then once I decided I didn't really want to live in Orlando, Florida in the summer, where it's 110 degrees every day, it's super humid. And basically, if you can't find shade, you're in deep trouble. And so, I decided to move back to New England, where I'm originally from. And I landed a job up at Salem Country Club as an assistant professional. And really, I was basically in charge of the entire instruction program there. Because teaching wasn't that big when I had first arrived there. So I started teaching a ton. And so that was kind of great. That was my first opportunity to really just focus on instruction and really be able to help a lot of the players at Salem, and, tons of guys that I still work with today. And so, from there, I basically got an opportunity to become the head golf professional at Raleigh Country Club. So I was there for a number of years, kind of being the GM, director of golf. And I realized shortly after being behind the desk that the lesson tee was where I really wanted to be. And so that's when I started kind of exploring a little bit, and I kind of linked up with Sun and Air Golf Center. And the Jones family are great people, and they've always been very good to me. And the opportunity to become the director of instruction at Sun and Air came up. And so I never looked back. I jumped on the opportunity, and so it was great. And, I've really been able to kind of grow my business organically, and really kind of get a great, amount of players. And so now we're adding staff, and we're doing everything from junior camps and, clinics for ladies, guys, juniors. And, we do tons of private lessons. And so now I have a great staff in place and some assistants that can really help me. And, and I kind of mentor these guys, because I've had a great opportunity to teach for a long period of time. And so I can help them. And it's fun to collaborate, talk to different teachers, discuss different fundamentals, topics, approaches to different problems. And so, it really allows us to keep, working off each other and help each other. And I can help educate these guys. But at the same time, I like fresh ideas, and I like to be able to see different perspectives and, trials and errors and see what's worked for them. So it's lots of fun. And, I truly love teaching and working on players' games. It's just it's something I truly enjoy and find very gratifying.
Awesome. So obviously things are a little funky right now with the pandemic, and I've taken lessons with you at Sun and Air at the clubhouse in Middleton. So what are your options right now for people as far as getting lessons from you? I know we actually did the remote lesson a little while back as well with FaceTime. So what do you got going on right now?
Yeah, so basically right now, since the driving range and the practice areas have to remain closed, at Sun and Air Golf Center in Danvers, we just have our par 3 course open. So basically what I've been doing is
that too.
Yeah, so it's great. I mean, that's one of the nicest things about Sun and Air Golf Centers. I mean, we have everything. We've got, 50 bays. We've got a brand new grass tee that's been laser graded and resodded and hasn't seen a single divot since last fall. So it's like torture looking at it. And then we've got a huge short game area and putting green. And then we also have the par 3, and the holes range from 110 to about 200 yards. So I've really been enjoying doing just playing lessons since the driving range is closed. And it's a lot of fun because playing lessons is almost like a different experience than taking a lesson on the range, where we're focusing much more on repetition. We're using more video analysis and TrackMan and Flight Scope, things like that, to really, take a more analytical look at your swing and fine tune your fundamentals. But when we play, I try to keep the instruction a lot lighter, and it really gives me an opportunity to see how players manage themselves around a golf course, but also how well they align to their target, what kind of decision making is going on. And then, I get to see a little bit of full swing, some short game, and some putting. So I really get to assess your full game and say, okay, what are the strengths and weaknesses in your golf game? And then now that we're getting closer to the range being open, now I really have a roadmap for what I want to work on with you, where the holes are, and really with any player. So it's really fun, and I've enjoyed it. And I've certainly been putting down my miles, though. I'll tell you, I've been walking that loop about 8-9 times a day, and it's
I know you're already pretty thin. You're already pretty thin. You're losing some pounds there.
I know, seriously. I was going to say I have trouble packing the pounds on, so I'll be thin before we know it. So, other than that, we did some, FaceTime and Zoom lessons. So those are always an option. I have, online platforms that you can do, and that's really what I was doing in the height of the pandemic. But now that we have some opportunities to get back outside, it's a lot more fun to be back in person and be able to exercise, social distancing, and we have face mask regulations and things like that. But we're able to kind of get back together and really work on the game a little bit out on the course. And so it's been a lot of fun. And but I'm ready for the range to open. I'm really hopeful that on the 8th everything gets back up and running, and we're off and going. So
I'd be shocked if it didn't. And just talking about walking the course, and so I don't know if this is a reflection of my golf game, but I played golf the other day, and I tracked my miles, and I walked over 7 miles. So it was probably a lot of
it's never a great line. It's usually some zigzagging.
Right, I probably walked twice the miles that I probably should have. But and definitely in the descriptions on Instagram and Facebook, we'll put in their ways to get in touch with you as far as your coaching and all that. So I'm actually glad that you brought up your instructor that you're now instructing and his problems with his back, because that's kind of what we're focusing on this month is golf flexibility, strength, kind of getting back on the course. We've all had, for most of us, we've been able to go to the gym, we've been able to work out, and then we've been able to get this slow transition into going to the range, and the golf courses open up. So obviously we haven't been able to do any of that. A lot of us have been working out at home or, getting outside and walking and all that. But, were there some specific challenges with the golf pro and his back, or were there some specific things as far as stretching or strengthening that you guys kind of worked on?
Yeah. So one of the first things that, we discussed is, and really I ask every student that comes in is there anything physical that's going on? Like any physical limitations, a bad knee, a bad elbow, a bad wrist, a bad back, or shoulders, so, these are all the areas that get a ton of pressure in the golf swing. And, the golf swing is in a sense, a little bit of an unnatural movement. you're coiling around your spine. So you're constantly creating torque. And so it's kind of a different motion. So your body really does need to be ready for that type of repetition if you're going to hit a lot of golf balls or play a lot of golf. So, that was the first thing I kind of asked him was, what was going on with your back? What happened? And then, how are we now? Did we go through a period of PT? Are you working with a chiropractor? Are you, getting regular adjustments? And then, what's the scale 1 to 10? Where's the pain? And then, because I never want to put somebody in a position that's going to put excess pressure on an area that really hurts. So I'm big on, if you do have physical limitations, let's work around it. Let's find a way to strengthen the muscles around the area that hurts. And then let's try to make some compensations or some adjustments to your golf swing that really don't put pressure on the wrong areas, that would inhibit your ability to actually be able to play. So with Jeff, who is the golf professional that, I grew up with and, helped me teach, taught me lessons as a kid, which I was able to help him. So the first thing I asked him, and he had some disc issues. They were pressing on nerves. And so basically, he had almost like sciatic nerve pain going right down his leg and numbness. And it was so physically limiting that when he played golf, he was just, sore for days on end after. And just the pain management just wasn't, anything he could deal with. And so I believe that when he went in, they either shaved down the disc or, removed part of it. And so that took some pressure off of the nerves and the sciatic nerves that, were basically hurting him. And so, from there, he said, he started to get more physically fit. He went through a period of PT to kind of get into better shape. And then basically by the time we got to lessons, he was saying, my body feels as good as it's ever felt, prior to, being, or the back surgery. So he was really in pretty good shape. And so, we try to, test some more modern fundamentals on him and creating some better pivot lines in his hips. And so, he was able to feel pretty free and didn't feel like any of the pressure was really giving him too much trouble. And the main issue he really had with me was he was hitting kind of an opposing ball flight to what he traditionally plays. He was working more of a kind of a fade from left to right, and he wanted to kind of get back to more of a classic draw from right to left. And that's kind of one of the more areas that I focus on with students is we got to control your ball flight. We got to create a predictable pattern to your ball flight before we can really start to attack speed and creating more distance. But once you kind of know what the ball flight shape pattern of your swing will be, then it's more predictable. You can kind of aim and kind of accurately more align to the target based on that ball flight. So that was kind of the first things we attacked and kind of to start to create the shape patterns and teach them how the path to face ratios work in order to kind of create those ball flights. So that was kind of the first step for him.
Are there any, like for the typical person that comes in and, you said you do, kids and men and women, I'm sure you get some older people in there too that have physical limitations. Is there any specific range of motion area that you find kind of common with people, whether it's their shoulder or their, their mid back or their low back?
So certainly the first things I kind of assess is I can kind of take you through like a little system test, basically with a club across your shoulders. And we try to look at, can you rotate your shoulders without rotating your hips? Because in golf, it's been known as the X factor, but we know a little bit more now about how the body works. So certainly, we have a much better understanding than we did previous, but, the golf swing relates to creating a coil around your spine. So the more that you can rotate your shoulders around your spine without moving laterally so much, the more centered you'll be able to stay on top of the ball, the more consistent the low point of the swing will be, and the better the contact will be on a consistent basis. So the first things I always look at is someone able to maintain some stability with their sternum and head in one place, but actually be able to rotate around their spine? And then the second thing I really look at is what's their hip mobility. And this is something I've definitely noticed, that as people get older and they stop, maybe working on their body as much and getting into the gym, and really, I would say even less than getting into the gym is just increasing, range of motion through, basically stretching. Because it seems like all guys have the muscular strength, but lack the range of motion, where women kind of lack the muscular strength, but have this great range of motion. So it's one of those things where it's almost like guys always want to get in the gym, but don't want to stretch. And then the ladies want to stretch and do yoga and, be super physically, able to turn, but sometimes lack the muscular strength. So it's kind of interesting in golf, that kind of collaboration. But I really see as players get older, the mobility in the hips becomes so limited, and that really restricts your range of motion. Because in golf, you really want to coil that upper body around the spine, and then your hips need to rotate around, kind of the pelvis needs to make some rotations. So the ability to be able to really rotate your hips to create more room for your shoulders to turn is huge in golf for creating speed and power. So, and it also, the less kind of flexible you are, the more you have to drift and move in your swing to actually create some turns. So those are big things that I always kind of look at is, what's your range of motion? What's your general body type, and how does that affect your swing and some of the patterns in your golf swing? So,
are there any specific strengthening exercises that you recommend for people, whether it's, box jumps or deadlifts or, core exercises?
That's a great question, because we actually had a teaching seminar where every winter we have, basically about 20 teaching professionals that all get together, and we do these seminars and discuss different topics. And one of the big topics this year was other sports should kids play maybe in high school or in college or even, in elementary school as they're working up, that would really be beneficial to golf? And one of the interesting things that we all kind of decided on was that we actually thought track and field was the best of all of them, because you're using a lot of different muscle groups. If you're doing like, a disc toss or, some of these other patterns, the more that you can run, jump, skip, be able to do all of these different kind of mobility skills, the more your body gets super well trained. So much of the energy in the golf swing works from the ground up, the ability to put pressure into the turf, spring up off of the ground. But as you rotate, is so important for creating energy in your golf swing. So I think so many people, kind of associate their upper body and their arms to dominate the motion, but it really all stems from the ground. Your ability to put pressure into the turf, start to transition and recenter your pelvis in the golf swing and rotate around the spine is really the key. And I think that's really the part where people kind of forget. They try to get so upper body dominant. So I always say, anything you can do to strengthen your legs, like box jumps is great. The ability to spring off the ground and really to create some energy is so important. And then I always say, in order to protect your back, you got to have a strong core, because I think most golfers end up with sore elbows, sore wrists, and sore backs, and just generally the lower back. So I think, the stronger your core is, the more it supports and stabilizes the back. And then again, making sure that your golf swing isn't too steep, so that you're not just pounding into the ground, causing that reaction to go straight to the elbows and the wrists. So, we try to shallow out a golf swing so that the angle of attack isn't so steep, and that takes care of your body better. And it's like, the better your technique and the more you can pivot your hips correctly and rotate your shoulders and then shallow the club, the less pressure you're putting on these different parts of your body. And so those are the big ones. But I think, the more you can keep your neck mobility flexible and loose, and then, the more that you can strengthen your core to support your back, the more you're going to have the ability to really play golf for a longer period of time. So, but I think, so much of exercise for golf should be derived around the ability to spring off the ground, to rotate your shoulders and hips. So, and really the last one I would say is most players, in my experience, really have a hard time maintaining posture. So in your golf swing, you have a forward bend of about 30 degrees, and the ability to be able to rotate your rib cage while maintaining a tilt is incredibly important for hitting the ball off the center of the club face. So that's an area that I find most people compensate in their swing. They'll pop out of their spine, extend their hips in early, and kind of back up from the ball. And so, absolutely. So many players do it. It's more instinctual. You're trying to get out of the way to let your arms fly by, but you really want to be able to maintain posture and stay in your side bends as you swing. And that just makes the swing so much more sound and repeatable. So that's really one of the tougher parts is, can you have enough core strength and enough range of motion to be able to stay in your side tilts and maintain your posture in your golf swing?
Mm-hmm. Is there any, if let's just say somebody's going out to play around, or maybe even yourself, I know a lot of professionals probably have a pre-round routine besides obviously the going to the driving range and hitting some balls and chipping and putting and all that. Are there any specific warm-ups that you do yourself or that you recommend for people, or that other professionals do?
Without question. So if it were up to me, so I always say the country club guys have a little step up, because usually a lot of the country clubs will have like a little gym or something like that. I think most people just get to the range, bodies are cold, and just are like, little light stretch. And, you got to get your heart rate up. So I always say, jump on the exercise bike, 5 minutes, get a good pedal going, almost break a light sweat, get your body warmed up, and whether that's just, taking a quick little jog around the range, or just, doing a couple of jumping jacks, in the locker room before you get out there. You got to get your heart rate up a little bit before you start stretching, because, we got to get the blood pumping. We got to get the blood flowing. So I think if you could jump on an exercise bike for 5 minutes, get a good pedal, a good pace going, just to get the heart rate up, then you can get out there and start doing some stretching. But the first thing I do before I even hit a single golf ball is I spend a good 5-10 minutes just loosening everything up. I start off with my neck and kind of get some neck rolls going to really get my neck kind of loosened up. And then from there, I do some forward bends, really try to stretch out the hamstrings. So I know for most guys, that's really one of the tighter areas, and that certainly affects your back mobility and, how sore your back will feel. So, and then I stretch my hips. For me, I'm big because, I'm not a giant guy. I'm probably roughly around 5'10", 5'9", 5'10". And so for me, the ability to create rotation in my golf swing is where all my power comes from. So, and I'm pretty long hitter for my size and for my pound for pound. So my range of motion is the most important part for me to create speed. And so, that's what I do. I kind of just start from the ground up. I loosen up the ankles, then the calves, then I try to get my hamstrings loosened up, then my hips, and then I start getting into some light back twists and things like that. But that's really where I start. Is I really don't really touch a club until my body starts to get loose. My heart rate, is up, and I really start to stretch out a bit. And then from there, I always think I have kind of some basic yoga poses that I always do right before I head out to the range or head out to the course. And I just go through, a series of yoga poses to really try to just loosen up the hip flexors, loosen up the back, do some, downward dog and some, cobra poses to really just get my spine and flexion, get everything kind of loose. And then I start hitting balls. And then when I hit balls, I really start with the most lofted clubs first. I do more, some 60-degree wedges, just hit some kind of low pitch shots, 30, 40 yards, and sync up my body and arms. And then I go into more half swings, kind of swinging from basically 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock on the dial. And then from there, I get into some full swings, and then I work through my bag. So that's kind of what I like to do. That's, I think, pretty much what all touring professionals do and elite golfers is, they get their bodies kind of loosened up and warmed up. Then they get their swings loosened up and warmed up. And then from there, now we're ready to get over to the putting green, roll some putts, get some speed control down before you head out to the actual golf course. So, I definitely think to play at an elite level, there is a process in which you want to follow in order to kind of get game ready, so to speak. So,
and most of us, even the average golfer, everybody wants to improve. So obviously, most of us don't have the time, the resources, we may not live
one
on
of the hardest about the game.
So really working on our bodies and making sure that, hey, when I do have the opportunity to go out there, at least I know that my body's in shape as far as strength and mobility, so that I'm putting myself in a position not only to be able to, make an efficient swing and get some distance out there, but also, just as important, not hurting myself. And you had mentioned watching, so the difference between the women's game and the men's game. And, for me, having watched golf for many, many years now, you never used to look at the old time golfers as athletes. And now you look at these guys, Brooks, Koepka, and, Tiger Woods, and these guys are all pretty big. But even a guy like Justin Thomas, who's pretty small, these guys still crush the ball, and so, yes, strength is an important part of it. But I think that for, some of these smaller guys like, Ricky Fowler, the distance, the flexibility really comes into that. And so, like you said, the hips, that low back, mid back, and all that stuff is very important. So if you watch the guys, these big athletic guys crushing the ball, and then I actually prefer watching the women play golf because they have much better tempo, and they're still, hitting the ball a long ways. And so it goes to show you that, like you said, that flexibility, without feeling like you have to stand up there and, swing for the moon, that can go a long ways. And again, like you said, that comes down to our ability to move our body, so through strength and flexibility. That's probably Antoine right there delivering something.
Nice.
I don't know if you heard that ring.
Yeah, I did hear the ring. So one of the things that I thought was really cool is where I went to college was in Orlando. And so we'd go to the Bay Hill, or now it's called the Arnold Palmer Invitational, every year. And I always thought it was funny because, Mickelson is he's looking pretty fit these days, especially after the match that was played. I was like, man, he's trimmed down a little bit. He's looking good.
Calves. Got to activate the calves.
Definitely, those calves, absolutely. And a great example of how much leg strength, is so important, because he bombs them. I mean, Phil can still hit the ball a ton, and he's almost 50, And so one of the things that was amazing to me is I always associated Phil Mickelson as kind of that nod to the old era of golf, not the fittest athlete, but just, an excellent player of the game of golf. And then one day when I was watching him hit balls at Bay Hill, so I watched him create a forward bend with his legs locked and lay his elbows on the ground. And I was like, I had no idea that Phil Mickelson was that flexible, because he just doesn't have the body type that looks like he's super fit and flexible, but it was unbelievable. I mean, his range of motion was incredible. And I was just like blown away. I was like, this guy's laying his elbows on the ground with his legs locked. I mean, that's insane. And so, to see, basically the top 50 players in the world, none of those guys are, overweight, not, kind of the older nod to the game. All these guys are, working on their bodies every single day. These guys are fit, elite athletes, and it really does show up, because on the PGA Tour now, if you can't, hit the ball really far, I mean, it's a bomber's paradise out there. So, you've got to be able to create speed if you're going to have a successful career out on the PGA Tour, just of how long the golf courses are, how difficult they play. And, your ability to get that ball further down is going to open up more scoring opportunities. So it really is a huge part of the game now. It's not just about the technique, but technique can really produce the speed. But if your body can work with that and create even more speed due to being physically fit with good range of motion, you got all the tools at your disposal at that stage.
Right. And, professionals have, they all have their golf coaches and their trainers. They probably,
they got a whole
chiropractors, there's chiropractors that travel with the PGA Tour.
Mm-hmm.
So, the nice thing about the average golfer too is, they have someone like you that they can go to work on technique and find out some faults. And then they have, people like me that can say, hey, Phil said that I have decreased thoracic mobility, is there something you can take a look at with that? And so even the average golfer still has some of the resources available to them through your instruction and through, what we offer at our offices as well,
No question.
So it's great symbiotic relationship for sure.
And I think it's really interesting, because I swear I've gotten tons of students where, I can help them, but their range of motion is what's limiting them. So it's almost more important that they go see you. And sometimes I do stress that to players, saying, you've got good technique, you just don't have the range of motion to keep getting better. And that's when they need to go see someone like yourself, and get, or work with a physical trainer, so that they can really increase their motion. Because I swear there are so many golf swings that can be improved just by working on your body and maybe a little less on your technique. And so that's where, some players, it's really just is limiting them, and so, I'm happy to continue to work and improve your fundamentals, maybe improve other areas of your game so you can score better, like your short game, your putting, your bunker play. But I'll tell you, there's so many players that come in where I'm like, man, if you just started working with a trainer and, saw a chiropractor and got some work done on your body and really, loosen things up, you'd become an incredibly better player. You'd hit the ball further. And so, there really is a recipe for creating, max speed and distance and, being able to really maximize your golf game. And, the technical side and what I can help you with, on your golf swing and give you a better understanding of your natural tendencies, you're basically, where you really need to work on your swing or the different parts of your game. But I'll tell you, that body is the engine that creates everything. So you got to be able to kind of start with that and say, what kind of motion do I really have? And, maybe there's some better way to find, people like yourself to help work on your body to get it ready so that you can play golf at a more elite level. So, but I definitely see that a lot in lessons.
That's one of the reasons why. So we have an office in North Andover, the one in Beverly. And that's one of the reasons why we set things up the way that we did in our office. The North Andover office has a pretty big gym in there. Our mobility center is a little bit smaller, but that is a part of every new patient that comes in. I don't care if they're 80 years old and they're pretty sedentary, or they're a 20-year-old athlete. everybody's given some kind of exercises in there. We do a lot with soft tissue work with some active mobility stuff, whether it's trigger point work or, foam rolling, going over specific, soft tissue work, and then working on strengthening, because it's never just about, and you know this with golf, it's never just about one thing. You can't be a great driver and not be able to chip,
Exactly.
You may have great spinal mobility, but, if you lack some of the supporting tissues, or you have some restrictions in the soft tissues, you're lacking some strength, some specific deficiencies there, then, the whole thing doesn't work the way that it should. And so that's why, we try to get everybody to get on some kind of exercise program. We set aside specific times in our day that are for consults, for exercises. We, for our patients that are in our practice, we don't charge anything more for the exercise or the soft tissue consults, because that's just part of your care, part of you being in our office, and, it's very important, Phil, I really appreciate you being here with me today.
Oh,
I can't wait to get out on the actual driving range and start working on working on my chipping, which is certainly after a lesson. That was, I started off poorly, but I have come back, and I've been working on some of the things that you told me, and it's definitely coming around. So what I'm going to do is on Instagram, I have a link in my bio. So what I'll do is I'll put a link to, is your website the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can get through, in touch with me. So you can certainly get in touch with me through social media. Pretty much everything for me is at Phil Cornetta Golf. And so my Instagram username, Facebook, same thing. You can look up the Phil Cornetta Golf School. We have a golf school page. I'm a bit more active on Instagram. I think that's kind of the media channel that I probably use the most. And then my website is the easiest way, because we have online booking systems. It'll go more in depth on, some of the philosophies that I have, how lessons work, some of my packages. So to visit me at philcornettagolf.com is certainly the best way to get a hold of me. There are instant links to all of my social media accounts, all that type of stuff. So that's certainly the best way to get a hold of me, is through my website. And then once the range opens, my online booking system will be up, and you can book lessons straight from the website, and it'll take care of payment and all that type of stuff. So it's certainly, that's the easiest way, is just to go to philcornettagolf.com.
So I'll make sure that on our Instagram, YouTube channels, and on Facebook, everybody has a way to get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
Going into the new golf season, hopefully hitting the ball longer and straighter, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And that's key. Those are the big things. We want to be able to create as much speed as we can. So, finding someone like yourself to really help improve your body, and then finding someone like me to really work on your technical skills and your mechanics is the recipe to getting a lot better at golf, creating more consistency and greater distance. And that's when golf becomes fun, is when you're at that stage where you appreciate your game. You've got speed, you've got good technique, and you have the tools at your disposal. I think that's the best thing about working someone with like yourself or with me is, we open up the doors to understand what we really need to do to improve our bodies or improve our golf swing. And then you actually have a roadmap. Now you have exercises, a regular routine visiting you to work on your body. And then that's what I try to provide to my students is, once we understand your tendencies in your golf swing, what we like, what we need to work on to improve and create more consistency or more speed or whatever you're really looking for in your game, then we develop drills, and we really try to stick to certain routines. So you reinforce those things over a period of time until they become like second nature. And so I think, working with, guys like yourself and me, you really form your own team to improve your golf game and have more fun in life, and certainly more fun on the golf course. And if your body feels good, I know my mind feels good. So it's definitely really important. So
that's awesome. Hey, Phil, thank you very much. The sun is still kind of out, so hopefully you'll have a good day out there.
I got a tee time at noontime. I'm ready to go. This is my day off, so I'm stoked to get out and play some golf for the day and enjoy a nice afternoon for sure.
Nice. Awesome. Hey, thank you very much, Phil. We'll certainly be in touch soon.
Absolutely. It's always good to chat with you, and I look forward to getting back to work on your game once the range opens. And so enjoy the rest of the day, and thanks for having me on.
All right. Thanks.
All right, Kev. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, very much. Yep. Thank you.
With golf professional Phil Cornetta. All of his information, how to get in touch with him, will be in the links here on Instagram, YouTube, and on Facebook, as well as how to get in touch with me. We are doing a special this month. We're doing a special golf analysis for $49. We're going to do a complete chiropractic evaluation, movement analysis, and we're really going to focus on the things that we need to get you better at moving and stronger for golf season. Okay, we're gonna have some special offers with that. Typically an exam in our office is $249, but we're gonna have that 45-minute exam with me for just $49. So if that's something you're interested in, certainly click on the link in our bio on Instagram or below it or above on these videos, and then we'll get you set up for that so that we can get you going in a better direction. We will see you soon.